Well, even his worst critics would not question two things about him: his competence as a lawyer and his personal integrity, which is why there is a lot of focus right now on why Gopal Subramanium, one of India's top lawyers whose name was in the running for being a Supreme Court judge, is taking on the Narendra Modi-led NDA government, which has sent back to the collegium for reconsideration his name as a Supreme Court judge. Gopal Subramaniam, this is becoming very controversial. You have responded to it by withdrawing your name from the post of a Supreme Court judge for consideration for that. Why are you doing so, Mr. Subramaniam?
There are three reasons, Arnab. The first is that when you want to enter a constitutional office, that too on invitation, you need to have a certain amount of trust and shared happiness in the appointment. I never anticipated that there would be objection to my appointment, but I was absolutely wrong. So the first point is a judge can't begin his career with a trust deficit from one of the important litigants before him, which is the government itself. The second is that there are certain processes which have to be adopted even when you have reservations about individuals. And I don't think that process was correctly followed in my case. And I was actually the victim of some stories which were planted around in different parts of the media. I had no chance to defend myself, and I do not wish that my character be questioned by an executive government, and that too through my clients, namely the Intelligence Bureau, the CBI,
yes,
the Cabinet Secretariat, who have actually sought my advice over 30 years.
So are you saying that these agencies are being used against you? And Mr. Subramaniam, I want to put a caveat by saying that if I ask you these questions, it's only so that I get the answers from you. So let's be very specific, Mr. Subramaniam. The fact remains that the CBI gave a negative report about you, ostensibly from what we've heard, to the Law Ministry, and the government therefore has to take that view into consideration. Now, there is a negative report about you. The government says we can't ignore it. How can you blame the government, Mr. Subramaniam, when you say that the Modi government is apprehensive, you won't toe their line? The government says it's not about whether Mr. Subramaniam toes our line. It's about the fact that there is a CBI negative report about him.
It's so interesting, Arnab, that on the 15th of May, and this is disclosed to me by none other than the Chief Justice of India, that there was a complete integrity check and there was a clear IB report. Now, immediately after a new government comes in, you find that the CBI is given a mandate to do some, what you called, dirt digging, and I think that's entirely unacceptable. But I'm prepared to deal with each allegation contained in the report, because it is so brazenly false that it is impossible for any government which has even an ounce of conscience to actually say that this needs to be sent back for reconsideration.
Are you saying the Modi government fixed the CBI? Are you saying the Modi government fixed the CBI into giving a negative report about you? Or are you suggesting that the Modi government, was the beneficiary of the CBI becoming flexible on its own? Because reports and assessments of agencies don't change overnight, Mr. Subramaniam. You're saying it changed overnight in your case. Who got it changed?
there is a thin dividing line between the two situations which you have described, Arnab. All that I can say is, I find it impossible to believe that matters which have actually been dealt with, described, trashed, done in, are being brought up today in the year 2014. Mind you, these are incidents in relation to the year 2010. Let me take up one by one.
Can I lead you on to those,
First,
with your permission? With your permission, Mr. Subramaniam, let me lead you on to those issues. You see, first, Mr. Subramaniam, you have denied having met any lawyer involved in the 2G case during your tenure as Solicitor General of India. My question to you is, and just hear me out, Mr. Subramaniam, isn't it a case of your word against the CBI's? The CBI, which was fighting the case against Raja, claims that two of its senior officials saw you with Raja's lawyers. So you are speaking of the judiciary being compromised now. Why should not one take an adverse note of you having reportedly interacted with the counsel for a person that the government's own investigating agency was trying to prosecute?
Let's now be very clear about this, Arnab. The first is that when the matter was being conducted in the Delhi High Court, I was the lawyer for all the departments, including the CBI. Now, when the matter came up to the Supreme Court, I was never told either by the then Prime Minister or by anyone in government that Mr. Raja, who was the minister, was under either suspicion or investigation. On the contrary, what is important to bear in mind is that I met the CBI officers individually. And the words which I used with the three officers, one of them is no longer alive. That is this minister a bandicoot? Because I don't want to take a stance which is inconsistent with facts. And the three officers only, and this was a closed door conference, in my official bungalow, they told me that, sir, till now, we have not come across any material. But you must also know this, Arnab, that I am the lawyer who advised the Prime Minister of India that the case against Mr. Raja in the matter of investigation and prosecution cannot be closed. And that was the advice given by me to the Prime Minister, which he accepted.
No, I understand that, Mr. Subramaniam. We are actually aware of those facts, that you actually took a contrary position to that of the government in the 2G case. And to some extent, Mr. Subramaniam, we are also aware that you were the victim of having taken such a position. But then tell me, Mr. Subramaniam, if that is to be the case, what is this? Is this fiction? We have a news report which says when the two CBI officers who went for the meeting, a special director and a deputy inspector general, became aware of the presence of Raja's lawyers in the office, they returned and complained to CBI Director Ashwini Kumar. So the argument being put here is that the argument is that you were colluding with Raja, and I think you need to really set the record straight on that one.
Well, the first thing is, I have met Mr. Raja only once in my life. That too, he came as a minister, accompanied by the Secretary to the Department of Telecommunications, Mr. Chandrasekhar, in connection with the settlement of a pleading. At that time, I had absolutely no information from anybody about this man being under a scanner. And actually, I was so tight-lipped, I still remember in that meeting, I said that this is a matter which needs to be considered by the government, after which I will have a look when a pleading is drawn up. After which I must tell you that there is no person, Mr. Radia, in fact, I think saw me for the first time in his life. Only for exactly 21 minutes.
Mr. Subramaniam, I repeat again, you said it a while back that on the 15th of May, the day before the general election results were to be announced, in your words, the Chief Justice of India told you that the integrity check and the IB report, the Intelligence Bureau report, had been cleared. I'm asking you that because that's a significant input from you. You stand by that. When did he tell you that? Did he say this to you verbally? Did he communicate it informally? Because if he did do that, then the whole matter becomes very, confusing. If the Chief Justice of India tells you something and that position changes
it. Yes, of course he did say so. Yes. He did say so. And I must tell you, at all points of time, Arnab, that I offered to the Chief Justice of India, I am more than willing to walk out.
Why did you say that? What were you apprehensive about?
No, I'm not apprehensive about anything. But I just wanted the Chief Justice of India to be completely comfortable with what was going on. And he said that he was completely behind me.
So you told the Chief Justice of India about what was going on. What was going on? Elaborate, please. What was going on?
What was going on at that time was first an Economic Times news report on the 11th of June 2014. That simply said that government had a reservation. Then I come to the next day, I saw some newspaper reports which again spoke about this 2G. And incidentally, this very newspaper article was trashed by Mr. Andhyavujina and me in the open court before the 2G bench which heard the case, and the reporter was chastised. And that is a part of the CBI case diaries. And I would really be very happy to know if somebody can explain why is it that the truth is not being spoken at this moment.
There are all these stories.
Secondly,
it's a very, you see, the importance of this, and I want to put this for all our viewers watching tonight, this interview, Mr. Subramaniam. The significance of this interview is that here is a man, Gopal Subramaniam, indisputably one of India's best known and qualified lawyers, in the race, and it was a given that he would rise to the bench of the Supreme Court along with other leading lights of the legal fraternity. Now his name goes back for reconsideration, and there are all kinds of now questions being raised on whether he's competent. There's an attempt to link him to 2G, someone to Radia, someone says to, his whole application of logic. He now comes out and says, I'm being put in the cold because I don't think the Modi government thinks I'm going to toe their line. My second question to you, Mr. Subramaniam, you have been accused, according to a law ministry official, who says to the Intelligence Bureau, who says that the Intelligence Bureau has in its report given instances where you, Mr. Subramaniam, rely on your spiritual instincts rather than your legal or rational logic while applying your mind. And especially in the case of the Sri Padmanabha Swami temple, where you did an incredible job and you exposed the pilferage of gold from the temple vaults and submitted a 575-page report. You apparently said there that you cannot take credit for discovering any of the misdeeds because it was divinely ordained. And I quote the report, your report is saying, it was his morning ritual of shutting his mind and seeking guidance, which is spiritual guidance, which resulted in discoveries in this direction. So the accusation being put here is that a person who depends on his spiritual instincts to decide on cases cannot be a Supreme Court lawyer. I want your response to that, Mr. Subramaniam.
I'm actually very honored that the Intelligence Bureau reads the Padmanabha Swami Temple report. I'm extremely flattered. But I must now let you know three things. One, the first is that the Padmanabha Swami Temple is a temple which follows certain traditions and shastras. I actually was appointed as an amicus curiae by the Supreme Court. Now, naturally, when I went to the temple, I was not getting any assistance in discovering what were actually the hidden gold or the unaccounted silver or the unaccounted treasures. Now, naturally, when you enter a temple, you have to follow a certain code of conduct. You have to wear a dress which is becoming in the temple. And naturally, since I am a theist, I went and actually prayed for guidance in front of the deity. And I suppose if I were to fold my hands and were to pray in any temple, I'm not taking leave of my rationality, nor am I taking my ability to evaluate evidence. If every piece of silver and gold which I actually found, and I am not only physically touching the gold and the silver, but I have an assortment of 8,000 photographs. In fact, in respect of each one of these discoveries, I find that to suggest that the person is more spiritual than rational is somewhat very highly mystifying. But I must tell you that the report also contains excerpts from scriptures which I've had an opportunity to study over a period of time. And if writing a report on the Padmanabha Swami Temple as an amicus curiae, which is before the Supreme Court of India for the purpose of examination, I think the attempt to actually scrounge for something to be said against my candidature is quite evident. I was actually even more puzzled to know that the Intelligence Bureau wanted to say that in the Parliament attack case, I behaved funnily by going to the Parliament House building. Now, actually, this is again so ludicrous. I went in the morning wearing a dhoti and carrying a few flowers to pay homage to the martyrs who have given up their lives for the sake of protecting the country. And after I finished arguing the case, I again went back to the same spot and put a few flowers to pay my homage.
I just put it very simply. The argument being made, Mr.
Yes.
Subramaniam, is that you are too religious and religious up to the point where, according to people in the Intelligence Bureau, they say that, your religious fervor may interfere with your rational thinking, and they say that he conducted a puja inside the Padmanabha Swami temple. Now, you went there as an amicus curiae. Why would you do that?
I need to answer that. You see, yes, I need to answer that. You see, the first thing is that in the Padmanabha Swami temple, in the main building or the precincts, when you open a precinct, there is a tradition of lighting a lamp and offering a few stotras, that is shlokas, for the purpose of actually taking out the material from that room. You will be shocked to know, Arnab, that in the Padmanabha Swami temple, I did not even find one priest to conduct this basic ritual. As a result of which, I did not also want to violate the traditions which are to be observed when you open a room in the precincts of the temple, and actually conducted the puja which has been upheld by the Tattri of the temple. So actually I noticed that this was also an attempt which was made when I was there in Trivandrum, when I was beginning to discover all this pilfered gold and silver. And they just wanted me to get off the place as early as possible. I find that the Intelligence Bureau's comments are simply unacceptable.
Mr. Subramaniam,
I need to add...
Okay.
No, one moment. Just one moment. I need to add, Arnab, that each one of us may have personal beliefs. My personal beliefs actually are not only theistic. I'm deeply interested in science and I read any number of books and any number of subjects. But when I am a lawyer, I'm completely secular, I'm logical, and I stick to the brief.
Mr. Subramaniam, as I said, as a caveat, when I put these questions to you...
I don't want... Sorry.
Okay.
I don't want the Intelligence Bureau tomorrow to be the judge of whether a lawyer is rational or spiritual.
Now, see, Mr. Subramaniam, I understand where you're coming from. I can see today that you are both disturbed, perturbed and hurt with what you feel is a campaign against you to scrounge out dirt. But I must ask you the questions. Mr. Subramaniam, I'd like to continue by asking you that in its report to the government, the CBI has also referred to a Neera Radia link. The tapes submitted by the CBI to the Supreme Court also reportedly include conversations pertaining to Neera Radia's alleged connections with the senior law officers. Mr. Gopal Subramaniam, did you know Neera Radia?
One, the Neera Radia tapes were handed over by me to the Supreme Court as Solicitor General. I am the one who insisted in investigations into what is contained in those tapes. The third is that Neera Radia had 3 children. One was abducted, and Uday Lalit, as a junior counsel, along with Neera Radia, came to me for professional advice in the year sometime in 2004. That's the only time I've met Neera Radia. After that, from the year 2005, that is 13th August 2005, to 13 July 2011, when I quit the office of Solicitor General, she had no access at all to me. She attempted, and nobody attempted for that matter of fact, to have any access to me in respect of any of my professional functions. On the question of the swimming pool, I want to tell you that I used to go to the Tal Katora swimming pool.
I just want to put this, I want to explain this. What Gopal Subramaniam is talking about now is that the CBI report to the Supreme Court about the tapes makes some reference to a quote-unquote complimentary membership arranged for the swimming pool at the 5-star Taj Mansingh Hotel. That's what he's speaking about now. Please continue, sir.
Yes, I want to tell you, I went to the Tal Katora swimming pool for swimming. And it was closed due to the Commonwealth Games repairs. I used to work roughly 18 to 19 hours a day as Solicitor General, and I needed exercise. And therefore, I was wanting to look for a swimming pool nearby. I requested an additional Solicitor General colleague of mine, Mr. Parag Tripathi, to locate, if possible, a swimming pool nearby. After some time, I got a call from the management of the Taj Mansingh Hotel, who made no reference to Miss Radia or to anyone else, to suggest that I could apply for a membership. As a matter of fact, I never took membership. I have not used any facilities in that hotel.
Okay. Now, Mr. Subramaniam, let's cut the chase and come to the main point.
No, one moment, Arnab, one moment. Sorry, Arnab. This is reported by the CBI to the Supreme Court in a sealed cover. And yet, the CBI is today trying to say something to the contrary, is very deeply disappointing.
Now let's cut the chase, Mr. Subramaniam, and come to the main point. Do you believe, Mr. Subramaniam, that your role as an amicus curiae in the Sohrabuddin Sheikh case and the legal scrutiny surrounding Amit Shah has something to do with all this?
Arnab, I have not had any direct evidence of any conversation with anybody in government to say that they hold my role as an amicus curiae against me. But I must tell you that some of the judges of the Supreme Court did ask me about the Sohrabuddin case. Now, I want to tell you about this case. It's only fair that the public must know the truth. I was sitting in court waiting for a case. The Supreme Court asked me to look into the petition of one Sohrabuddin Sheikh, purely as an amicus curiae. I took a copy of the petition, and I actually found that there was a letter which had been written by Sohrabuddin Sheikh to the then Chief Justice of India. I went to the archives of the Supreme Court, traced the letter, and also found a reply from the Director General of Police of Gujarat, which contained two attachments. Those two attachments indicated that this was a case of murder. Therefore, I wrote a report to the Supreme Court that prima facie it is a case of murder. Then, when I asked the Supreme Court to find out where is the wife of this man called Sohrabuddin, then the Gujarat government said that even that lady was killed and she was cremated. And you must know, Arnab, that it was I who first placed total faith in the investigative agencies of the state government. I requested the investigating agencies to conduct a fair investigation, and it was during this investigation an eyewitness came to be liquidated. At that stage, I requested the Supreme Court to transfer this investigation to the CBI. And let me tell you, I don't know who is Mr. Amit Shah at that time. His name surfaced in the course of the investigations made by the CBI. But even when dealing with Mr. Amit Shah, even when the question of his bail application came up, I told the court that please secure his liberty, but let him be outside the territories of the state of Gujarat so that the investigation can be completed. After which, the CBI proceeded to conduct the investigation. I also want you to know, Arnab, that during the entire period of my argument in the Supreme Court, I made no personal references to any individual.
No, my question is, do you feel, because there are reports which say that sources close to you link the new government's opposition to Gopal Subramanium to his stint as friend of the court in the 2005 encounter killing of Sohrabuddin Sheikh in Gujarat?
This is what is believed.
Do you believe so?
But I have no... yes, if you were to ask me,
yes,
by a process of deduction,
yes,
having excluded all other false allegations, this is the only reason.
This is the
There's
only
no
reason.
other reason.
This is therefore this whole summary, our conversation over 25 minutes in which you have listed out several things which have been put out against you, which you say amount to scrounging for dirt in order to ensure that you are not made a judge in the Supreme Court, that the only reason could really be your position as a friend of the court in the 2005 encounter killing of Sohrabuddin Sheikh, and Amit Shah, who was State Home Minister at the time, faces legal scrutiny in this case. So you are saying it's clear political motives behind it?
I cannot think of any other motive.
Who do you think should explain?
Arnab, as a lawyer who has practiced for 34 years, I was not angling for a job. I was invited to take the office. If the government of India has any discomfiture about me, they either must express it candidly, or they must actually be open to persuasion that their apprehensions may not be correct. But it cannot be that you don't speak up, but you actually try to sully the reputation of an individual, put through things which already have been trashed, call the man spiritual instead of rational. And I think that this is completely hitting below the belt. And I want to say that I told the Chief Justice that I am not able to take this anymore. My family was in agony, and I decided that it is better that I withdraw, I go public, I make my position clear, because there was no one even from the judiciary to tell the government that this is hardly the way in which candidates for Supreme Court judgeship are ever meant to be discussed.
But with the greatest respect,
very strange, Arnab.
With the greatest respect to the office and the individual of the Chief Justice of India, with the greatest respect to the Chief Justice of India, Mr. Subramaniam, if the Chief Justice of India did tell you on the 15th of May that your integrity check was clear, that you had been cleared by the IB report. The Chief Justice would not say so on the basis of some deductive surmise. The Chief Justice would only say so on the basis of some information available to him. Don't you believe, Mr. Subramaniam, that this real issue out here, which compromises, therefore raises issues about the independence of the judiciary, that everyone who was in the know, including perhaps, if I may say with the greatest respect, the Chief Justice of India, should be asking the questions on what happened?
I should think so. I should think so. And I'm surprised that a segregation took place out of a list of 4 names. 3 people are actually being appointed, and a 4th one is being dealt with indeterminately. And I'm not willing to take this behavior. I want to tell you, Arnab, that I don't need certificates of character either from an executive government or from any member of the judiciary. I think I have lived for far too long in the public domain as a lawyer, and I stick to the position that I have done nothing wrong. I don't need to offer daily explanations. But still, since it is a public office, it is important that I must begin with a sense of honor. If the executive government of the day expresses its trust deficit in whatever manner it wishes, and I'm not wanting anybody to like me, it is okay that the executive government may have reservations about me. But I will respect the reservations per se. But I do not agree that this kind of slandering match conducted through the media and with nobody from the judiciary to speak up for me, it should continue. And this is not the way you can deal with prospective candidates for judgeship to the Supreme Court.
Well, Mr. Subramaniam, just by way...
Sorry.
Yes.
If you are an independent... One moment. If you are an independent lawyer and you've taken positions all your life, you cannot be subjected to the tests of conformity, mediocrity, and, shall I say, falling in line. I don't think it's fair.
I just want to ask you one question at the end, Mr. Subramaniam. You kept quiet after the previous government treated you unfairly. You kept quiet. You did not speak up. You could have spoken then. You may not say so, but there are enough people in the know that even at that point of time, you had a feeling of being treated unfairly by a government you served. So why did you snap now? You didn't go public then. Why are you going public now?
At that time, Arnab, I was in a position having served as a Solicitor General. I had tendered advice to my client, which was the Government of India. I must tell you that notwithstanding the fact that I may have had differences in perception, values with the then government, but when they accepted my resignation, they placed on record my outstanding services as Solicitor General. But I must tell you that afterwards I did write a letter to the law minister, to the succeeding law minister, explaining the real reasons why, on principle, I demitted the office as a Solicitor General.
I get your point. Now, from your perspective,
yes,
it's an issue. Yes. No, please continue. Please complete.
I only wanted to say that the position of a judge requires public credibility and confidence. And I think even if willy-nilly, notwithstanding unjustified attacks and behavior, a dent is made on the image of that office, I owe it to myself and to the institution to actually step back, and I'm willing to surrender my 9 years as a judge and a Chief Justiceship.
Gopal Subramaniam, this raises questions about the independence of the agencies, the position of the government, and why the judiciary has not backed you if the judiciary has known. Therefore, I believe that in this case, Mr. Subramaniam, the issues that have been raised go far beyond even you and are issues about institutions. We will look at where the story goes. Thank you very much for talking to me this afternoon. Thank you very much.